Welcome to Styled Clean, from toxins to truth, one thread at a time, where we press pause on fast fashion and pull back the curtain on what's really stitched into our clothes. This is the podcast where we go behind the seams, follow the threads to their source, and rediscover fashion as an act of environmental stewardship. Hosted by Kathleen Audette, stylist and image consultant. This show is for people who believe their clothing is more than fabric. It's a living story that touches your spirit, your body, your mind, and your values. Styled Clean is where fashion meets stewardship. If you're ready to cultivate a wardrobe that honors your values and an ethical closet, you're in the right place. Now, let's unravel today's episode.
Today's conversation is one that I think will stay with you long after you listen. We're talking about creation. Not just something out there, but something we are deeply a part of. And we're talking about what it means to live in a way that reflects care, justice, and intention, even in the clothes we wear. So my guest today is Avery Davis Lamb. He's the Executive Director of Creation Justice Ministries, which is an organization that equips and mobilizes Christians to protect, restore, and rightly share God's creation. In this episode, we explore the biblical roots of creation care, from Genesis and the idea that humans are literally dirtlings, formed from the soil, to what Avery calls creation justice, which connects environmental care with human dignity, economics, and the systems that we participate in every day. We also talk about climate hospitality, what it means to make room for others to flourish, and how even something like cleaning out your closet can be an act of justice and restoration. This is a conversation about slowing down, paying attention, and choosing a different way forward. It's one that values people, the earth, and purpose over convenience. So if you've ever wondered whether your everyday choices really matter, this episode is for you. Avery is the Executive Director of Creation Justice Ministries. He's an activist, an ecologist, and a public theologian working at the intersection of Christianity and environmental justice. He has a background in both ecological research and faith-based environmental organizing, studying ecology in various ecosystems and organizing faith communities across the country in support of action on environmental justice. Previously, he worked for Sojourners and Interfaith Power and Light. He serves on the board for the Center for Spirituality and Nature, and he is a fellow with the Regenerate program at Wake Forest Divinity School and the Foundations of Christian Leadership program at Duke Divinity School. If that's not enough, know that Avery is very warm, genuine, and an all-around cool guy. Hi, Avery. I am so glad to have you on the podcast. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Kathleen. Good to be here.
Terrific. Yeah. So I want to ask you a question. When people hear your title, Executive Director of Creation Justice Ministries, they probably picture something very different than what you actually do. What's the part of your work at Creation Justice Ministries that would surprise people the most?
Well, our mission at Creation Justice Ministries is to educate, equip, and mobilize Christians in the work of protecting, restoring, and rightly sharing God's creation. And I think what would surprise people the most is that most Christians are on board for this work. I think so often there's a perception of Christians as being anti-environment, but I actually can't imagine anything further than the truth that nearly every Christian community that I talk to has folks who are interested and engaged and excited about loving and advocating for God's creation. And certainly there's a lot of disagreement about how to do that in particular. Right. But really our work is to encourage folks who are feeling this draw, feeling this need in this moment, this creation crisis moment, to respond in some way, to be an advocate or to be an active an agent of restoration. So I guess the surprise is that we have a lot of allies in this work, often more than we might think we do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if it's around this word creation care. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so for me, creation care goes back to one of my favorite passages of scripture in Genesis 2. And there's two pieces here that I just love. The first is that God's first act as a creator in the second of the two creation accounts is to kneel down into the dirt
Yeah.
and to scoop up this soil and to breathe into it the breath of life.
Yeah.
And out of that's how the first human, how Adam was created. And the word Adam actually parallels the word for soil in Hebrew, which is Adamah, the Adam from the Adamah.
Yeah, dirt.
Yeah, right. And it's great. We have a similar parallel in English, which is the humans from the humus.
Yeah.
That's one of the lovely places that English sort of parallels the Hebrew. And the direct translation of Adam is dirtling or earthling. That's what the name means. So tell that next time you meet an Adam, tell him that his name means dirtling. So
Yeah.
that's one sort of our origin as, humans who are intimately and inextricably connected with the soil. The second is just later in that same book in Genesis 2, the first commandment that God gives to Adam is, in our English translation, to till and to keep the garden.
Right.
Till and keep. Again, going to the Hebrew is abad and shamar, which for us, we think of till and keep maybe, and we think of industrial agriculture, which is so often actually a destructive practice. But for the close to the ground agrarian writers who wrote Genesis 2, till and keep meant to serve and to preserve and to protect, because they knew that in protecting the soil, they're protecting themselves. The keep is the same word, and the Lord bless you and keep you.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, we are also Adam there is being invited to bless and to keep the land. And if creation stories are help us understand who we are and who we are to be, then I also read that as an invitation for us to till and to keep the land. So that's sort of the origin of creation care for me. It's there at the beginning, right? The second chapter of the Bible, there at the beginning of the oldest creation story in our sacred texts. And so we start there. We till and keep the garden. And of course, there's many other accounts throughout Scripture and the long history of Christian tradition. But there at the core of it all is this call to creation care.
Yeah, I love that. I've written about creation care, and when I think about it or when I study it, it just seems so simple. Just like what you're saying, it's really just caring for the earth and then caring for humans, atoms,
Right.
dirtlings, right? We care for each other, and that just, for some reason, I don't know why we would skip that. Or not be able to see that when we're reading our scriptures, particularly about caring for the earth. And then whatever we are, a few 2,000 years on the other side, we're looking at what we've done and saying, this is